Hi, I'm Greta Oliver. Welcome to the EducateU podcast, your roadmap to learning tips, techniques, and strategies to enable your student to successfully navigate the road to and through higher education. Welcome into today's session of EducateU. Today's guest on the Personal Finance and Budgeting segment of EducateU is Brentley Wright. Brentley Wright is the founder of Brentley Financial, a financial practice focusing on incorporating insurance strategies for family-owned small businesses and churches. Its model for success is anchored in relationship building, listening for impact, and partnerships coupled with the customer's vision, mission, and values. Brentley serves on the Accelerating Men Membership Board of Directors and is also the Racial Equity and Economic Advisor. Today, he will be discussing the importance of personal financing and budgeting for students in college. Please join me in welcoming Brentley Wright to today's session of EducateU. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're anxious to hear what you have to say. You're all things financial. We know we can get all kind of good information from you. And so I'm going to just let you take it from here, Brentley.
Well, Dr. Oliver, thank you so much. You wrote an incredible book, The College Roadmap. I wish I would have had it going into my college days. And so what I kind of talk about tonight is just really going to be my personal experience and my gaps, my lack of closing the gap of financial literacy, kind of knowing what I know now. I wish I could have had it back then. And so if I can make anyone's experience a little better financially and give you a different mode of thinking, a train of thought tonight, I think I want to do that. And so I'm going to share my screen. And like I told you earlier, I was messing with you, but it's a way that I just kind of organize my thoughts so I'm not all over the place, and it centers me because finance is so big that very vast subject matter, and you can go in so many different angles and directions that you have to just kind of center yourself in. So I'm going to actually share my screen and let me know if you can see it.
I can.
All righty. So you see, I got you up.
Yes, you do. Okay, we're ready.
So let's go and fire away. I think you got your question up here, and we go. You asked, how important is it for students to have a personal budget in place while in college? And I thought about this, and one of the things I thought about was, number one, is to start training the mind financially. I think a lot of times there's such a big gap in financial literacy that you have to start training that mind, which is the muscle that controls everything, your thought process, your perspectives, your perceptions. And so it has to be trained financially, especially if you come from a home like I did, where finance education was not on the table because we were in a single parent family. So my mother provided for us, and she worked extremely hard. And with 4 kids in the home, she didn't have enough time to just sit with us and just explain to us important financial truths. However, we also went to a church that did so, but you're not thinking about that when you're young. It's not. So it helps to start training the mind financially. You'll form a habit of controlling your finances. I thought that was pretty cool because if you can form a habit of controlling your finances, it means the world to you and will help you navigate the world differently than maybe some of your peers. You want to control your finances. Your finances don't want to control you, right? We are in charge. This is the relationship. And then thirdly, it bridges the gap to financial literacy. Many of our students today just don't have enough financial literacy. And so it's not a requirement course in your syllabus. It's not a required course, actually, in your whole college experience. And if you do attend a financial course, it's a one-off or an anomaly. And so I know that they're thinking about having some type of financial education starting from high school all the way up through college. That decision hadn't properly been made yet. But I do think that once you take some financial literacy courses, it will help you move forward. You also asked, what are the benefits of having a spending and savings plan? And so I thought about this as a college student, because I remember just going through college and going through my little classes and, just never really thought about a plan. And I said, what could be the benefit? And so number one, it builds confidence that you have a strong financial plan.
Mm-hmm.
College is where you start shaping who you are and who you become. And so much of what we are and who we become has everything to do with alignment for finance. And so, the saying is true. The more the money you have just displays or shows who your character is, right? And so you want to have a good confidence about your financial plan moving throughout college and coming out of college. Second, it creates a filter for needs versus wants. This is where the money is. This is like, I like to play golf, right? And so 150 yards in is where everybody makes their money. Tiger Woods made, hundreds of millions of dollars, not at the tee with the driver, but 150 yards in. He was able to chip very well, putt very well. And so I think when I think about needs and wants, this is the sweet spot for finance. It's right in the hole where, you're going to hit it, because you want to be able to say, this is a need and this is a want. I need this. I don't, or I want this. And so it helps you. And then lastly, when you start filtering correctly, Dr. Oliver, I just know you create long-term success and dividends from that. I know when you sow those seeds, they come back and harvest something phenomenal. You get dividends of confidence and a booster, and you have success financially, and you get ahead of your peers. And I think that's what you want. You also asked, what specific challenges do students have on campus regarding their finances? I thought that was a really critical question. Number one, survival. For me, it was coming out of Laurinburg, North Carolina. I did not want to be in Laurinburg. I got out. I graduated that Saturday and Sunday morning I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was gone. And I didn't really have a plan for my life, but somebody had talked to me about college. And so at that point, college was survival mode for me rather than actually having a plan to going. That's why I said, I wish I would have had your book and would have been better prepared. But for somebody, it was 3 hots in the cot. Give me 3 meals, somewhere to stay, and let me survive. And I think that's what a lot of our students are going through. So when you're in survival mode, that also shows how you'll manage the finances or what resources you get. Mm-hmm. Peer pressure. I mean, the peer pressure today. I mean, the way to look and the way to dress and your Jordans and you stepping through and, how you're going to be on somebody's driving this type of car. And, you just don't know. So peer pressure is very real. And if you capitulate to that type of peer pressure, I think what you'll see is that you'll quickly go down financially. And those are some to look at. A lack of financial literacy education. I talked about that. I think this is a big one too, credit card advisement. I mean, you think, so, there's only a couple institutions that will give you money, a 17, 18-year-old money. And that is either a loan shark, right? Or a Sally Mae, giving students $100,000, and then banking institutions come on campus and then offer you credit cards. So if I have no financial education, to couple with big money that's been given a loan to me for my education, and I don't know how to use a credit card properly, I'm in deep, deep trouble.
Right.
And so I think this is really a challenge that students have, to not see this as excess money or money that could be used. It is a plan to actually deepen your debt coming out of college. And then fifth would be self-impulsiveness. Even I won't put the onus on everyone else. Sometimes we have to do self-reflection. And so, we're so impulsive at times, just want to do it. We don't think it through. We don't process, the different decisions. And so being impulsive really says a lot about who you were and how you manage your finances. So this is a very big challenge as well. And then no financial plan. And I say this because I think a lot of us have to start thinking forward. And when you don't think forward, a plan helps you think forward and gives you hope. Not necessarily saying that's going to happen, Your plan will happen step by step. Praise God for those who do. Amen to that. But it just gives you hope, Dr. Oliver, in a way that that student can win in life. And so I think these are some of the main challenges that a student will see when it comes to finances on the campus. Also, this is a pretty good question. I wanted to narrow this down to one, just one answer. And it was, under what circumstances should college students work? And I said, the moment you take a student loan. The moment you take a student loan, I believe you should go to work. So my plan for a college student, I would always say, is your freshman year, I want you to get engrafted into the culture. Right. I want you to know what it's like to go to college. You need to know how to set up your classes. You need to know how to network and who your teacher professors are going to be. You need to get the syllabus structure down. You need to get your class format down. You need to understand and create reading rhythms and things of that nature. This is just stuff I just didn't know that if I went back to college now, this is what I would be doing, creating a rhythm instead of a balance. But you get this rhythm. Sophomore year and above, sophomore, junior, senior years, these are your working years as well. Because once you have created this rhythm, you need to know if you took out a loan, you're going to have to pay this loan back. Absolutely. And the reality is, it's time to go to work, baby. It's time to go ahead and put your best foot forward in getting your education, but then also crafting a plan to make sure you can make these payments that start 6 months after you graduate. So the moment you take out a student loan, I believe you should go to work, but not without understanding the culture and getting really, really inculcated into what you have to do. Yes, what are some that you can offer that would allow students to make better use of their money in college? I think you should take a financial literacy class. Now, we talked about this earlier. There are anomalies to this, but take a class if you can. And then secondly, self-study. You can learn just about anything in this world today if you put your mind to it and go research. And so that's the beauty of the internet. That's the beauty of YouTube. That is the beauty of learning without actually having someone to tell you what to do. All right. And then read everything you can on understanding money. Read everything you can, because I think it's a big deal. And I thought about this too. Go to the financial department and ask to speak to the CFO and ask a ton of questions. I think that would do a student very well, because here it is, a chief financial officer who's running the financial institution. They have matriculated through a lot of financial training and understand the industry a lot. And so what a student could do is partner with that CFO and ask that CFO, whether it be he or she, how can I develop a plan that helps me win when I leave here? And then I check in with you on a monthly basis just to make sure I'm on track so you can see exactly what I'm doing. That CFO, I guarantee you, is going to bring you on as their project, quote unquote, to make sure that you have success. I know a good CFO would not turn you down. I know that. And it might be hard to get to them at first, but maybe you can work with somebody in their department. But I guess it might be minimum cases, Dr. Oliver, where a CFO really gets a student coming to their office, knocking on the door and asking for financial help. And I think that would be something different to set you apart, make you stand out, but also help you win. When I was in college, I wanted to win. I wanted to be a person that stood out. So I knew my provost, I knew the president. They called me the networker around there. I could just network. I had a son, which made me leave college. But before, when he was on his way, I started detailing cars. And so I was detailing, I went to St. Augustine's College at that university at that time, now college. I was detailing the president's car, provost's car, professors. I was getting to the bag, what they say today. I was getting to the bag. However, I think this is one untapped market that a student can actually do that is practical. And if not, email them every single day until you get an answer. So Set yourself apart by doing something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What would I tell my younger self about finances and budgeting as a college student looking back and know what I know now? One of the things I think about, Dr. Oliver, is there are pros and cons to everything. Pros and cons. And one of the things we look at as a pro and cons are, okay, the pros are, I'm going to go to college and meet new people. I'm going to expand my horizons. I'm going to learn a great deal. I'm going to become a good thinker and critical thinker or independent thinker. I'm going to learn about the field that I feel passionate about. I'm going to put my efforts there. I am going to, set myself apart. Well, those are your pros. The cons will be, there are a few things that you want to think about. Number one, that there is really a debt crisis in America, student loan debt crisis in America. Mm-hmm. So you want to be able to process this information, right? You want to process this information in such a way to help you make a good decision about college. So if I thought about what I would do and how I would go all the way about it again. I would number one, I would figure out who I am, who I wanted to be, and what impact I wanted to make concerning my college. Secondly, I would pay close attention to the conversation, and I'm going to go in today's time to the conversation of the student loan debt crisis, and I will be looking at there's $1.4 trillion in student loan crisis. Over 40% of students are not making payments right now. Over 80% of students do not work in the field that they actually got a graduate degree from. And I will be processing these decisions, and I will be processing this information. I would also look at how student loans are exempt from bankruptcy, right? Cannot go into bankruptcy. I would also look at that. I would be looking at, I would understand the fact that, this is a business transaction. So I have to be very logical in my approach to college versus emotional. I will have a logical approach versus an emotional approach. Emotional meaning going to college for the fun of it, right? Or the meaning of new people and this exhilaration that you get of doing something new. But that quickly fades as you get into the routine and mundane of the mechanics of college, because you have to root yourself. And so from there, that's where the discipline shows, and most people tap out. And when you tap out, we don't remember that we've already agreed to an extensive or substantial amount of money that we're responsible for. So in your book talked about responsibilities. We have to be responsible financially, which means that we're going to handle our business that way. And so I will look at pros and cons. And then also, if this is a business transaction, I want to deal more inside of how does this work or how does this flow with me? I would get more into what is the business of college? How do they, I would do some, I would call it maybe, business anthropology, if you will, getting in there and learning this business that I'm about to make a business transaction with, because we're going to create this relationship. And so one of the things I thought was very critical was when you look at IRS, Internal Revenue Code, this is very critical. I did not know this. Now I do. 501c3 states, IRS Internal Revenue Code, 501c3 states that the vast majority of private and public universities and colleges are tax exempt. Entities as defined by IRC Section 501c3, because of their educational purposes that federal government has long recognized as fundamental to fostering the productive and civic capacity of its citizens, and or fact that they are state governmental entities. Income from activities are substantially related to the purpose of an institution tax exemption. Charitable contributions received and investment income are not subject to federal income taxes. This is also for private universities as well. So when you look at this, public and private universities, I'm about to make a business relationship with the institution that pays no taxes at all.
Right.
Okay. So the name of the game is taxes. So I have to realize now economically, when I come out of this 4-year journey or 5-year journey for some others, that I'm going to now be responsible for taking up my share of economic responsibility once I've been here. So the deal, what I would think about when I'm thinking through this and reading this is I need to go handle my business and not play around.
Right. Absolutely.
I need to go handle my business and not play around. I need to quickly figure out who I want to be and what impact I want to make and what lane I need to go and whatever the impact I want to make, what is that demanding of me? Because I'm about to enter into a serious business transactional relationship that has severe economic consequences down the line. And so you think about these universities, and that's why I talked about part of that conversation. You have to have an ear into the conversation. What are the senators saying? What are the presidents that are running saying? What is the local municipalities saying? What are your states saying about college and the tuition? And what is it doing? And what does this do for me? And because if I am saddled with debt, that means it prohibits my lifestyle.
Absolutely.
It prohibits my lifestyle. And so if you think that you're going to get out of college with a ton of debt and then go, buy the house you want and they drive the car you want in your dreams, it's not going to happen because you have to be responsible for that serious payment that you're going to make. So I wanted to kind of break it down just a little bit more. Thank you for bearing with me. But it was just, I said, this is so critical. So let's just take Rutgers University, and let's just look at some of what they have going on. So anybody can go find this, right? And so where does their revenue come from? Tuition and fees, 28.9%, patient care services, the state of New Jersey, meaning that they get a university gets an additional 18.9%. That's taxes from the state of New Jersey, from its taxpayers, that you will be paying if you live in New Jersey to Rutgers. And so I think if you're in North Carolina, whatever state that you're in, you know what? Your tax plan actually will fund what some of these universities are doing. So that's just what I mean about just understanding the business itself of college and not just being narrow-minded to go to college, get a degree and then leave. I understand what I fully am immersing myself into as a researcher, and then the consequences that I had to pay for economically. Even when you think about, if we get a little bit more granular, when you think about, let's just take NCCU, right? HBCU, we love them. We see their tuition cost 24, estimated up 25,000. You see what it is. Other fees, room and board, on campus budget, You see your non-resident total as well. But let's look at, if you calculate for a second. So here's what I love about a principle that I love that I read a long time. No man goes to build without counting up the cost. You have to count the cost up, right? To every single thing you say yes to. And so if we went to this HBCU, and I just picked the HBCU like NCCU, we're in North Carolina, I'm down the street from them, so they were easy to pick. Let's just look at an example. If on their calculator, you say, okay, if I borrow $26,728 for 1 year, go to school and get a degree, it's going to cost me, an interest rate will be added to it of 2.75 for 10 years. That's 120 monthly payments. That's an additional $3,900 in interest on what you borrowed. Your total would be $30,601.75. So monthly, we'll be looking at a payment of $255, which is why I say the moment you take a student loan, you need to go to work, because this becomes a part of your life here on.
Right.
Here on. And so, but you need to know exactly, don't be a student that's borrowing money and don't know exactly what your payment's going to be. We want to be smart. We want to be intelligent. We want to make wise investments. If we're going to go to college, then we need to make sure we know who we want to be, what we want to do, and then what's the cost in this business relationship. Let me be logical about it, not emotional about it. Let me process it all the way through. And so that's what I would tell my younger self now.
Absolutely.
About college experience on any level, just become a processor. So that is what I wanted to kind of share tonight. I hope that it makes some sense. I mean, that's it.
It definitely did. It definitely did. So some things that we can take away from your talk tonight is basically, you need to be serious about college if you're attending.
Yes.
And if you are attending college, you really need to have your focus, your laser focus on, what you're going for. You don't have time to go and, experience the fun, I guess, aspect of college, because after all, you're going for an education, and you have to put that first and foremost in your mind.
Yeah.
And if you are borrowing money, which some people do have to do, quite a few, know what you are borrowing, the cost of that, and how much that's going to cost you, and how long it's going to take you to repay.
Yes.
Because ultimately, if you default on those loans, every single thing in your life can be derailed from then on.
Absolutely.
So you might graduate, you might have a degree, you might not,
Yes.
but you're still going to have that debt regardless.
Absolutely.
And so that's one of the things that we really do need to keep our minds focused on. Get help from people, CFOs, mentors, from people who can help you. And if you go and they don't answer you, or they're not talking to you, or nobody's listening, keep asking.
Keep asking.
That is one of the things that kind of can set you apart from every other college student. Because how many college students do you really know that's going and asking the CFO, can you explain all of the business interworkings of the university with me, and how that's going to translate to what happens to me as a student? Not too many. That certainly would set you apart from other students. But you really have to be about your business. You have to be there for a reason. You have to know that this is an important step, and everything is run by, finances is by the money that you borrow or that you need to spend, and you need to know what that is being spent for, and what you're going to get in return for that.
Man,
so how's that? Was I listening today?
Really, I'm
listening.
Listening to 1,000.
There we go.
I love it.
So that's very good advice. I love it. Really, too many of us, even now, not even aside from college students, we don't really know what we're doing from day to day with our finances in a lot of cases. And so that's very, very important information. Yes, that, even I'm learning something today, and I'm somebody who's always willing to learn something new. And so just being more cognizant of what is going on in your life financially, what you're saying yes to, and what your yeses actually mean.
Yes.
Is very important.
Absolutely. My father-in-law loves to tell me, money drives the train, man. He was a command sergeant major in the military of finance. And so he always says that money drives the train. And so
absolutely.
Whether we're thinking about it or not, I always love to teach, man. You can't live where you want to live, eat what you want to eat, and drive what you want to drive, or do whatever without the dollar.
Absolutely.
We need to be very, very smart and about what we're doing.
Absolutely. I just appreciate you spending so much time and so much effort to break this down to us in a different way. It makes us think more than we would really think about. Why is it important to have a plan for saving and spending? The key word is a plan.
Yes.
And we need a plan for that as well as other things in our lives. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I'll look forward to hearing from you in the future on EducateU.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us today on EducateU. If you wish, you can send me your questions or comments about the college going process or the podcast contents by sending an email to drgreta@gretaoliverconsulting.com. Also, beginning each week after the podcast airs, check for a companion blog on my website's blog page at gretaoliverconsulting.com. My book, College Roadmap, Essential Tips for First-Time College Students and Their Families, is available for sale on Amazon.com. Join us next week for another tip or strategy to make the road to higher education easier for your student.